Thank you, Ed. I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of what our program is. Everybody, you know, you teach welding, whatever, you've had programs, you got stuff. So quick kind of where I come from, what I work with. I teach for Hutchinson Community College. We're the Blue Dragons. A 2-year institution of like 100 some odd programs. So we've got business, we've got welding, we've got technical, we've got the arts, we've got everything there, which is a blessing in some reasons and an issue in others. We have students come in that want to be welders, and they take a class to be a well-rounded individual, and I lose a student. But for the most part, because we have the technical blend and we have the traditional blend, it's pretty nice. We're a 2-instructor program. I teach year 1. So they come into me, they spend their first 2 semesters with me. Then at year 2, they have their first exit point, which in the state of Kansas would be the Certificate A, they call it. From there, they are work ready. They can go out and get a job. Year 2, they come back. We add to those skills. We build the skills. They can be in just the welding side for the certificate, or they can be in the associate side for either one. So one of the big things that I want to talk about right here, I'll get into, is we're supported in year 1 with the adult basic ed. When I started 5 years ago at Hutchinson Community College, I come in my first year, I handed them this stuff on measure and I handed them this stuff on math. I said, write me a paragraph on this, and I said, about a day later, I went, holy cow, we're missing skills. So I went to my boss and I said, we need math support, and she says, you teach it. And so I got a math book given to me, and I taught welding math. I am not a welding math teacher. I am not a math teacher. I'm not an English teacher. I'm a welding instructor. And so we struggled. So at the end of that first year, they said, well, we'll just give them a math class. And so we gave them a math class. In that math class, they were teaching math, but they didn't know how to apply it on the floor. Income and Initiative 2 years ago through AO, which is the Accelerated Opportunities Program. It's a 9-state consortium and everything, which got us another, I guess, instructor, which is ABE, Adult Basic Ed. He comes out of it. And that has been phenomenal in our program. He is a traditionally trained instructor in math, in English, and all these other things. He comes in and he supports the math. So I say, this is what we're learning. And he says, this is how I'm going to teach it. And then it comes back to me. We team teach it together. He'll teach the basic concept. From the basic concept, then I come back in and I apply those concepts. But instead of teaching them fractions and just fractions, we teach them application of tolerancing. And they're like, well, that's not fractions. Yeah, it is fractions. Or we teach them, you know, all that stuff. So everything is real world based in what they're doing. And then our facility, and I'll show you some pictures of our facility. We're a 25-booth facility. 20 of them are multi-process, and then we have what I call our flex booths. So a real quick look at the out in the shop. We teach 3 main processes, including oxyfuel cutting, all that stuff. This is something that I started working on about 4 years ago, was a WPS format and blueprint format. Obviously, I got to teach them how to set the machine on the fly, but I also got to teach them that when I tell them this is where you're going to weld, this is where you're going to weld. It comes out of our advisory boards. And then we also use self-evaluation for projects where they come in, here's the grading scale, you guys do it, that's your grade, are you happy with it? Well, no, I thought it was better than that. And so it takes me out of some of their stuff that they grade, but it also, there's other things that I grade exclusively to make sure that they're meeting that criterion. Here's a WPS format, and I'm not gonna lie, I went down to the the air gas welding class in Tulsa. They had a WPS. I went back, I got on Excel, and I said, this is a really cool format. I like it, and I made it work. If anybody wants this, I will give it to you in the Excel format, okay? I have no problem. Give me an email address. I'll send it to you. They're all clicky boxes, or what I call them. I don't know what they're specifically called, but you just click on it. It check marks that. That's what you want to do. The only thing that I don't have in here is an easy addition to the picture of the weld type. But WPS, and some of it, big thing right here, it's for training purposes. I will give them unattainable weld parameters, and they say, holy cow, it doesn't work. Well, then what would we have to do to make it work? I don't know, tell me. No, you go figure it out. We use this with cutting and etching. We use this with bend testing. We use this with all kinds of stuff. Everything else, and I just screenshotted this. When it prints, it's not the pretty pink color and everything. But everything else that they get in the project is blueprint based. That way they are looking at it. And people are like, but you just do a fillet weld. There's a T-joint, there's a fillet weld. Everything on there includes the material specs of what they're supposed to be, tolerancing of what they're supposed to have, and I can go as far as taking a student and saying, you're off a degree. Well, what's a degree? It's just a weldment. What's a degree? It's just a $100,000 piece of machinery. So keep tying that back in, keep tying it back in. So they're looking at them. I try, you know, I've got a title block, I've got all those elements in there. A lot of stuff, this is a build type pad that they do. I include an isometric view for them so that they have a picture view in the beginning, and then as I build it, I get rid of that. Onto our facility, 25 booths. We have center 8 booths in here, and then there's 8 booths behind. Okay, I'm kind of backing through the shop. There's some leads dropped there. This is our grinding area. This is one of my biggest benefits that I've ever had, I think, in teaching, is when a student makes a boo-boo and they have to grind. Then I can still talk to other students, because this is, from where I'm taking the picture, the wall's behind me, so it's completely separated from where it's at. We have 4 grinding areas that they can grind in. We dump the ventilation right over top, the recycled ventilation, so it keeps the dust down. It's fantastic. I am very blessed in the facility, and I have no qualms in saying the facility we have is great. Coming back, this is that grinding area, noise blankets and stuff, projects area. This area is for the second year stuff. We have job booths basically set up where they've got the welders that they'd be using, the tables and whatever. They work on small projects. Shooting to the other side, there's the iconic CNC plasma everybody has or is wanting to have. Ours is an old Bernie system. It's about 10 years old. So there's kind of, you can see 2 and 2 together. Little fabrication area. One of the big things that we do in the second year as they get into building parts and making things is smaller projects so that they repeat those skills over and over. It's really cool to show a big trailer or show this and show that, but it's also a lot cooler to take a student out that knows how to run that equipment, whether they build a project that was this big or they build a trailer and seen that machine run. When the students leave, they should have ran every machine, brake, press, all that stuff we have in the shop. This is our fabrication area. These are projects that are going out to fundraising events here in the next couple weeks. And so that's our facility. Facilities are great. We're really lucky, like I said. But here's the biggest thing. I was floored when I got to Howard Atkins. I never knew I was put in for it. I don't know. It still kind of has me dumbfounded that I got it. I feel there's a lot of veterans out there. I still have a lot to learn. But some of the stuff, best practices, and I don't know if you sat in on the plumber lecture with Rick Polanin, but the first summer after I started, I was lucky enough to go down to the Instructors Institute and work with Ed and work with Rick, and they both taught me great things that I've applied in this. So one of the big things that I took back into my program, when I started with my students, we were going to be welders. One of the big things that I always try and break is that we're welding professionals, or we're welding technicians, or we're more than just what everybody sees as the welder. Because we are. We're not out there getting the metal around our neck for the architecture, but we put that building up, or we put that bridge up, or we kept the infrastructure going. And so I'm always fighting with them about professionalism. You're not just a welder, you're a welding professional. I I pound that into my guys all the time. Be professional in what you're doing. You never know when somebody's talking to you, and it's not about, are you a welder? Maybe they're looking for a supervisor. And they say, I really like your professionalism. I like this. We're going to move you right in and be a supervisor. So the next thing is accountability. We have very strict attendance policy. Some people say we're crazy, but it's 3 strikes, you're out, which is really nice in some aspects and a hindrance in others. But by about week 3, the students that are there because mom and dad said go to school, but they don't want to be there, aren't going to be there. They've already missed their time. It's tough, but when I started the program, that was already instituted. They are accountable for when they're there. Now, the 3 strikes you're out, obviously, if there's a funeral, if there's all that stuff, there's excused absences. But interpersonal skills, we take a lot of that AO support I was talking about with the support on the math and everything. Because I have another set of eyes looking at it, it allows me to work on a team building side of it. So we've taken blueprints and projects and things, and we assess them as a group. They work in groups of 2 or 3. They have to weigh in on each other of whether I can excel at this process and you can excel at that one. Well, but I want to do this one. What's going to be the best for the overall, and things like that. Big interpersonal. And high expectations. I heard this all the time. Raise your expectations and they'll meet it. Raise your expectations and they'll meet it. You can set your expectations sky high, but if you don't give them steps to get up to those expectations, they're never going to meet it. And so one of the things I learned really quick is I can have the highest expectations, but I've got to help them get to those expectations. Whether that means this person needs more work, more help, more one-on-one time, whatever. So in our high expectations, sometimes I have to realize that I've got to help them meet the middle ground. And then once we've perfected that, we move up to the next. One of the things I convey in my students is if I don't love learning, why would they love learning? And I'm always trying to learn the next thing. I'm always trying to bring information in. I'm always trying to share things that I found out there. We're in a changing world, and I've only been in a short 15 years, and it's amazing to see the technology that's grown and to see what's changed and what's out there. And even walk out on this floor yesterday and go, that's insane. Well, yeah, we just unveiled that. That is, there's all kinds of neat things out there. So I always try and put my passion to learn, to better myself, into the students, and their passion to learn and better themselves reflects on what I do. So exposure, sometimes we get in a rut, and I've done it, I'll admit. I have to expose my students to everything I can. I cannot show them every technology. I cannot write enough grants to bring everything in there. I cannot take them on 5,000 field trips, but how can I expose them and what can I do? One of the most beneficial exposure items I've had is being active with the AWS. They got factory tours. I bring students factory tours and things like that. YouTube. Rick talked about how it was a distraction, and it can be a huge distraction, but it can be a great thing for exposure of stuff. Anytime. I encourage my students, take pictures, bring me pictures and show me, what you've seen, what you found, what you want to learn. How do they do this stuff? Everybody's got their camera phone now, and because everybody has a camera phone, bring it back to me. Share it with me on Facebook, whatever. Let's start a discussion about it. And then this was one of the big things I learned in year 2. I've never found something that is so applicable to teaching a new student out in the shop than cut that weld open and etch it. Let them see what's going on inside of it. Don't tell them your rod angle's wrong and then change the rod angle. Show them why that rod angle's wrong. I had my first year, I tried to get some acid etch. I fought for it. Finally, I went over to the chemistry department. He mixed me up a bottle of it. First thing off, I had a student who was like, oh, no, this looks really good. And it was a great moment to learn. I cut it open. I polished it. I acid etched it. And he walked away and said, I got it. Now I understand why you keep telling me I have to put the weld there, why I have to do this, why that's not right. So my students will be like, are we going to etch yet? Yep, we're going to cut it and etch it. Absolutely. I firmly believe the time that it takes, the 5 minutes it takes to acid etch something to show them is worth every second of it. Now my philosophy, and you're like, you just kind of went through your philosophy. I kind of did, but there's a couple things about this that I've struggled with as an instructor. Is it's not about me. It's not about what I can do. It's not about how I can do it. It's not about anything. It has nothing to do with the welds that I can pass. It has nothing to do with the welds that I can certify on or do anything like that. Yes, those skills are very important. It's all about what my student can do when they leave. And if I have a student go out that's happy, and I have a student that goes out and gets a job, that's going to reflect back on the program. The program is going to build, and that's going to make everything better, right? So in that, their success is my success. I've got students that have went straight out of the program into very high-paying manager, supervisor positions. I've had students that have went out into great production. I've had students that went clear across the board onto the 4-year, onto the, and stuff like that. Every student has success that leaves, whether that means they're in the welding industry, whether that means they're not in the welding industry, and I just taught them the skills to maintain a job, whatever. So without the students, I'm useless. I can be the best instructor out there, but if I'm not willing to stop, take a minute, work with the student, what good am I doing? Year one, I learned this one. Everyone has a story, and their story is unique. We've all got experiences. And I found if you take 2 minutes and listen to what your student's story is, there's a reason they want to tell you that. Sometimes it's beneficial. Sometimes, it's about them partying on the weekend. But, and bringing that back is, I had students that were, man, this party, you can't believe. And I looked at them, I said, really? I said, what are you going to do when that DUI goes on your record? Oh, I never thought about that, and stuff like that. So just take a minute, listen to their story. I never knew being a teacher that I would be a counselor. I never knew being a teacher that I would have somebody sit at my desk and cry for an hour about whatever's went on in their life and stuff like that. I tell you, the first thing I did was go, well, that's not what I'm supposed to have to do. I'm just supposed to teach. This is, it's just part of, and I think because of the hours that we spend with our students, I spend 15 hours minimum a week with my students. We have a way different relationship than that English instructor does. We can impact their lives way more. Every one of my students can be successful in some way. I've had this argument with administration. They spent 2 years in your program, but they're not working in the welding field. No. But what are they doing? Well, they're working for a company. How long have they been working for that company? For 5 years. So why did we lose them out of the welding field? Well, that's sad. They spent 2 years in my program. They learned how to weld. They're not applying that skill, but I can never take those welding skills away from them. So this job that they're happy in, that they've spent 5 years with, I can't take it away, and maybe they need to fall back on those skills. But every student, whether they exit in week 1, whether they exit in year 1, whether they exit in year 2, they can be successful, and they need to know that when they leave. And this is the biggest thing I fall back on. I'm done teaching. I'll quit. When teaching becomes just about teaching. I love this job. I love this field. I love talking to other instructors. I love all this stuff. But it's all about my passion and love for welding, machining, manufacturing. I've got my associates in machining. I got my associates in welding. I'm working on my bachelor's in education. And sometimes we get caught in, we want to sit around and commiserate. Can you believe this student did this? Oh, but I can raise you one more. This student did that. Oh, but I got a better story. This student did that. And we get caught in, what are we here for? We're here for passion. We've got a passion for welding. We've got a passion for manufacturing. And what have our students done that's good, and continue to grow and learn every day. If you're not learning something, you're dying. And your students can teach you something. I've learned more from students, from bad practices to good practices to, you know, I had a student that was phenomenal at brazing. I didn't even know you could braze that well. And he took 10 minutes and taught me his technique. I can't even touch it in what he did, you know. So remember, when you're growing, you're learning, you got to be humble too. Which means never skip a learning opportunity with a student, whether that's them having a chance to teach you something or you having a chance to teach them something. So that's my story. Any questions?